The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Kalshi. Make real money predicting sports. Kalshi is available in every state. You can also get $20 for free when you sign up with the promo code SGPN. That's Kalshi, promo code SGPN. And welcome, everyone, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Currently Thursday night, February 5th, around 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm as always, Scott Reichel, once again going solo for this pod. Time to get into the quarterfinals in Montpellier. So we're going to break down all four matches taking place on Friday. Before we get into any of those matches, though, a reminder that if you want to support the show, like, subscribe on YouTube, and also leave your rating and review on Spotify or Apple. Plus, a reminder, check out the SGPN app, free to download in the App Store. You'd also get access to all the podcasts, including this one, there for free in one easy location. Plus, a reminder, check out the merch store. A lot of great options that we have for tennis on the SGPN merch store. We have sweatshirts, we have t-shirts, we have mugs. We also have new hats. So once again, check out the options that you'll like it. They're cheap, different colors as well. Once again, the collection that we have, not just for this show, for other shows on the network. Plus, a reminder, of course, Super Bowl is coming up on Sunday. And if you do want more bets, check out the Sports Gambling Podcast, giving out 60 bets, for Super Bowl 60. So once again, 60 bets, courtesy of Sean and Kramer, if you check out the Mothership Show. So once again, they have you covered for everything Super Bowl related. Now, starting off with the recap of the lock and dog picks. Overall, decent. I'd say not great. For the lock, had a loss with Medjedovic team total over 12.5 at minus 145. The match itself kind of played out the way that I thought it would. I thought there'd be a breaker in there, and I thought it'd be a pretty competitive matchup, and it was. The problem was Medjedovic didn't win a set. So we had the favorite at a minus 170 price, and he lost in straight sets to Wawrinka. First set was tied 3-3 in a breaker. He didn't convert. I believe he fell apart after that. And then once he lost the breaker, he mentally checked out. But either way, didn't work out there for the lock. For the dog, nice win as we had Humbert straight sets against Zanchop at plus 105. Humbert's owned him his entire career, and Humbert was able to get the job done there 2-0. So once again, not a great episode, not terrible. But Medjedovic, though, let us down. Try to get a sweep here for the quarterfinals. Anyway, round of 16 recap for this event. Overall, a pretty, I'd say, interesting collection of matches for the round of 16. You had a retirement in there. You had a couple upsets and a couple of three-setters. Starting off, though, with Felix. He ended up beating Wawrinka in straight sets. Competitive. He did not cover the spread, but Felix did get the job done in straight sets. You saw Fils beat Blanchet as he ended up winning in straight sets as well. Competitive, but either way got the job done. So we have a pretty fun quarterfinal matchup between Felix and Fils, and we'll see who wins that one on Friday. Griekspoor won his first match of the year, beating Carreño Busta. He kind of coasted. He faced 0 break points. He served very well. And Carreño Busta ended up just struggling to actually hold serve early in the sets. So he fell behind a break early in both, and Griekspoor kind of coasted from there. We'll see if he can keep it rolling here in the next round. Saw Droget ended up beating Kovacevic. That was a close matchup. Kovacevic actually had a break point for a chance to serve for the match. Droget ended up fighting it off, won the second set, then it went up a break early in the third set and coasted from there. So nice run there for the qualifier. So Manarino, Paul, a shocking upset there against Humbert. Massive dog, and he was able to win in a third set tiebreak. Very fun match, came down to the wire. Both players had a ton of chances in the third set, but Manarino did just enough in the tiebreak to survive, and he advances into the quarterfinals. Moving on, you ended up seeing a retirement. Makic got hurt again. What else is new? As Gia won the first set, they were on serve in the second, and then Makic grabbed his knee on a serve, so he got injured again, and Gia ended up getting in advance into the quarters. So nice job by him as a wild card, but either way, ended up beating Makic and Pericard both via retirement. So we'll see how he fares against Manarino in the quarterfinals. Dam continues his qualifying run. He was against Tabor in the final qualifying round. 3 tiebreaks, and it was an absolute war. He showed up here, and he's been great. Ended up beating Hurkacz, ended up beating Agut. He has not been broken a single time the entire event so far, as his powerful lefty serve keeps dominating, and he was able to beat Agut handily in straight sets. And Nardi ended up upsetting Caboli. Caboli has barely played this season. He got destroyed early in the Aussie Open, and Nardi, after making a challenger final last weekend and losing in the final, ended up bouncing back here and making it into the quarterfinals. So once again, not too much drama. The Mannarino and Humbert match was by far the most dramatic because it went down to a final set tiebreak, but Droget and Kovacevic was also competitive. A lot of competitive matches, even if some of them did end in straight sets. So once again, you have seen the serve look very dominant so far on these courts. I mentioned it in the preview episode. Even though, according to the actual court indexes, it does seem like there are faster courts out there than Montpellier, the serve always dominates, and it feels like these courts are a lot faster than the data might suggest. And we have seen a bunch of tie breaks to support that theory. But either way, once again, a pretty interesting round of 16. The real story, though, has been just collectively how awful the favorites have been so far in this event. Ton of upsets. It felt like a lot of the main guys, ranked or unranked, just immediately lost. And now we have what looks like a fringe, I mean, no offense to these players, but it looks like a fringe challenger event with Dam against Nardi, Mannarino against Gia. Mannarino had lost 11 straight matches entering the event. Droget also made it into the quarterfinals. So once again, not really full of, I'd say, star players actually showing up. It seemed like it was going to be a lot of shockers early, and that kind of has carried over into this round. But the point is, looks like a couple of series long shots are still alive if you took them. And besides that, Felix, defending champion, is basically the only favorite left, with the exception of Fees, who wasn't exactly in the favorite tier. He was kind of in that middle tier. But then again, they are playing against each other in the quarterfinals. So you're going to see a bunch of potential long shot tickets that are still alive entering the weekend. So we'll see how those turn out. As for my outrights, to be honest, not great. I did go relatively favorite heavy for the event. I still have Felix, so I still have somebody who's alive at 5-1. Besides that, though, is kind of a mess. Hurkacz lost immediately. Humbert lost as a minus 600 favorite to Mannarino, and Kovacevic ended up losing in 3 to Droget. So not a great overall event for me so far. Then again, if Felix wins the event, then we're fine. So we'll see what happens. But either way, a lot of upsets, a lot of unexpected outcomes, and we'll see if that carries over into the actual quarterfinals. Besides that, though, looking at some other news worth talking about for tennis, I don't really see much else. Djokovic is back to number 3 in the world. First time since 2024. Good for him. Alcaraz is getting a kangaroo tattoo, which is not really news, but that's something, I guess. And the ATP chairman is reelected for a third term. Andrea Gaudenzi. Never heard of him. But either way, congrats. He's been given a third term that'll run through 2028. Does that matter for any of us? No. But either way, that is news. So that's all I got for the news. But once again, to break down the, I'd say, thrilling news updates, Joker being number 3 in the world is fun. Also because I get to laugh at Zverev again, which is always fun. Alcaraz getting a tattoo, and the ATP chairman is reelected once again, even though I don't know what the chairman actually does. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for the recap. Time to move on into the preview of the 4 matches taking place on Friday. Before we get into the matches, though, a reminder they're brought to you by our sponsor, Kalshi. So real money prediction market available in every state. They've be covered with a bunch of trading options for the big game, sides, totals, props, halftime performances, the national anthem, all that fun stuff. Plus, besides sports, they have politics, entertainment, and even the weather. You can also check out Kalshi if you're new. You have a great sign-up deal. It's $20 for free when you sign up with the code SGPN. That's Kalshi, Kalshi, code SGPN, for a free $20 at sign-up. We're also brought to you by Rebet. Rebet's the number 1 social sportsbook and casino out there, available in a bunch of states, 35 plus, including Texas and California. Get in on the action with the Rebet. And if you actually do sign up, we have a nice sign-up deal for you. Get a 100% purchase match up to $100 with promo code SGPN. That's Rebet, promo code SGPN, to capitalize on that great sign-up deal at Rebet. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finished going through the recap of the round of 16. Time to move on into the quarterfinals. So, starting off with the first match on the card, we have Mannarino taking on Gia in a matchup of the Frenchmen. So for this one, you have Gia, who's around minus 150. You have Mannarino, who's around plus 125. For the spread, minus 1.5 for Gia, plus 1.5 for Mannarino, and the over-under is at 22.5 games. And for the path for both players, Gia's had an abridged path because both Pericard and Makic got injured. So once again, it has been a bit weird to evaluate him. He did beat Lashka in the first round of the Aussie Open, did lose to Wawrinka in that 5-set marathon. He's looked good so far in the event, but then again, injuries have definitely helped him out. But he was up a set before Makic got injured. So he has been playing well. I'm not taking it away from him, but I have to point out that once again, when you get to the quarters courtesy of 2 straight retirements, I have to at least question when you're a minus 150 favorite. Now, for Mannarino, he's been looking sharp, beat Martinez in straight sets, who we know is god-awful on hard court, and beating Humbert is very impressive, especially indoors. Humbert was about minus 600, and you saw Mannarino lose the first set, and he actually battled back. Humbert had 23 aces, shockingly, which is the embarrassing part for Humbert. Mannarino was not broken in the entire match. Humbert went 0 for 9 on breakpoint chances, so he had a couple chances late, both guys did, in the third set. They failed, and Mannarino just outplayed him in the tiebreak. But either way, Mannarino, after losing 11 in a row, is in the quarterfinals of an indoor hardcourt event, so we'll see how he looks in this matchup. Now, I do think, based on the actual form, I would argue that Gia should be a favorite, but I do think the price feels a little bit large to me. Gia is still a bit of an unknown to me. He's still more of a challenger level guy. I know that he's making the transition to the ATP, and so far he's been pretty good in 2026. Mannarino, we know when his form is on, he can be very tricky to play. He has been ranked within the top 20 before, and I do think that'll end up looking sharp once again here in France. I see a very close match between these two guys. I think regardless of who wins, I could see this being a 3-setter. I think Mannarino, once again, has been serving quite well in the event. The flatness of his strokes do translate well to the courts in Montpellier. So I do think he's in a pretty good spot to look sharp. Gia, though, has been fine as well. So I see a very close matchup here. Maybe not as competitive as the Humbert match in the sense that I don't know if it's going to go full 3 sets and a tiebreak, but I do think the over 2.5 sets is pretty intriguing for this one, with the potential ebbs and flows of what could be a match full of long rallies. Over 2.5 sets is around plus 133. I like that. If you want to go for a team total over, I don't mind that either. Maybe if you want to go for both players, parlayed team total overs, that could be an option too. But either way, I see a close matchup. If I had to pick a favorite to win, I would go Gia. I think the price might be a little bit large. I think I'd probably put Gia at minus 135 if I had the price of myself. 150 feels a little bit rich, but I think that it makes sense he's favored. But I'll go for the over instead, both for the games and for the actual over 2.5 sets as my main thoughts for this one. Moving on to the next match. We're looking at the matchup between Dam and Nardi. For this one, Dam is favored. Dam's minus 132. Nardi's around plus 110. For the actual spread here, minus 1.5 for Dam, plus 1.5 for Nardi, and the over-under is set at 23.5. Now, both guys have been quite good. Neither guy's dropped a set yet. You have seen Dam went through, Nardi has not dropped a set yet. Dam has not dropped a serve yet. He has not been broken in the entire event. So Dam's had a couple of impressive showings so far in the main draw, beating Hurkacz and beating Agut. The Agut one was an ass-kicking. I mean, that was a destruction from start to finish. It was 5-0 in about 15 minutes, and the match was just over. But he ended up beating Martinu in the first round of qualifying, beat Tabor in an absolute marathon. Final set tiebreak, extended tiebreak. I believe both players had match points. And then he beat Hurkacz and Agut. So Dam's been serving very well, and the serve has been dominant. I would say out of all the weapons so far in the event, Dam's serve has probably been the best weapon around. That's how good he's been serving, and we'll see how he ends up looking against Nardi. Now, Nardi, I said before, ended up having a marathon event in Challengers right before this, as he ended up making it to the final and lost to Jacquet in 3. Showed up here, beat Basilashvili, and beat Kaboli both in straight sets. Now, I do think that Nardi has been playing very well. The ball striking has been quite noticeable. Nardi's ripping the ball. I feel like Kaboli, I know that he has not played many matches so far this year, but Nardi was out hitting him quite often in the rallies, which was a little bit surprising because Kaboli does have a nice forehand. I think that Nardi is actually pretty live to win this. I get that Dam is a guy who's serving out of his mind, and I do understand that Dam's a guy who, if he's able to even get a couple of return breakpoint chances, then he can just steal a set anyway because his serve is so good. I think that, once again, Nardi's been hitting the ball insanely well. Now, I will point out Nardi has not been very good against lefties recently. He is 2-4 in his last 6 against lefties, so that does give Dam an advantage. But I see a close match here. I think that Dam is a guy who I still don't really like his return game at all. I think he has, I'll use the word serve bot tendencies, and I do think you might end up seeing a bit of a marathon unfold. So I don't mind the breaker in this one at around minus 130. I think there will be a tiebreak in this match, and I do think if Tabor, who I don't want to say has a similar style to Nardi, but the same idea, a guy who's not exactly going to overpower you with the serve, but can just be very consistent in the rallies and wait for the mistake to come from Dam. I think there's a path for Nardi. I think I will end up picking Dam to win, but I do think it will be close, and I do think tiebreak is a solid option. If you want to go for what could be a 3-setter, that's intriguing. If you were going to go for that, though, I would not take the over 2.5 sets at plus 118. Instead, I would take the same game parlay for both player team total overs, because if it ends up going to 3, you're probably getting a tiebreak in there, and at that point, you're in good shape. So I think a better option than the over 2.5 sets would be the same game parlay for both players' team total overs, and do that instead. That would be my approach. I see a close match, though. Nardi's been very good so far over the last couple of weeks, and I think Dam, who's a guy who I've been keeping an eye on in the Challenger circuit for a while because of the serving, and of course, since Isner retired, I've been looking for more over 10.5 first set guys, and we kind of got one with Pericard, but you could always use a bit more because those are generally a solid, I'd say, well for profit. Dam could be that guy if he actually just stays on the ATP Tour, because a lot of his matches are pretty straightforward. He's going to bomb a lot of quality serves, and the return games are kind of a mess. So I don't mind the over in this one. I think the team total over parlay is the way I go about it. I think it should be a very entertaining and competitive matchup. Maybe not many breakpoints, but I think it'll be competitive nonetheless. I'm moving on to the next match on the card. This one is definitely the match of the tournament. So far, at least. You have Felix taking on Fees. Felix is a favorite, but not by a lot. He's about minus 189. So I'd say less than $2 is still, once again, not that big of a favorite when you have two very solid players against each other. But then again, Felix minus 190, give or take. Fees around plus 155. For the over-under, I see it being set at 23.5. Now, for the path so far, we know Fees came back from injury. He had not played for about 6 months. Came back, beat Royer in 3 sets, and beat Blanchette in straight sets. I actually personally had Fees in straight sets in the match against Blanchette at around minus 124. Got there. It was not pretty, I'll put it that way. Fees made a mess of the end of the first set. He got broken twice while serving for the set. Then he ended up winning the breaker. And then he ended up having a couple of breakpoint chances early in the second set, blew those. Had a couple match points, blew those, and then eventually did get the break. Coming back down from 40 love in the final return game of the match, and he was able to win 7-6, 7-5. As for Felix, he looked good. Now, I will point out that he was up a break in the second set against Wawrinka and choked it, but he was able to rally and win the tiebreak. So there you go. But either way, Felix is defending champion. He has been quite solid in the indoor hardcourt circuit for a couple years. And Fees, we know, has the forehand, has the overall talent, but then again, he is still coming back from injury, and we'll see how he looks in this matchup. Now, I think Felix is the worthy favorite. I want to point out, by the way, in all 3 matches so far that we talked about, the Manarino match, the Dam match, and the Felix match now, 0 head-to-head meetings, so nothing to recap there from that perspective. But I do think Felix should end up winning. I think Felix is just very good on the courts here. Fees has the firepower, I get that, but the serve can still be a little bit hit or miss, especially the second serve. And I think that Felix, with his overall consistency and with his better serving, I think should do enough to win in this one. Now, the argument, though, is whether or not you want to go for the straight sets or if you want to go for the marathon angle. I think I will go for straight sets, actually. I think Fees, once again, is a guy who I recognize the talent, but I think the shot selection can be a bit tricky. Both players here actually remind me of each other in a way, where the talent is definitely there, but sometimes the actual point, I'd say, creation and the shot selection can be quite abysmal, and that can get them into problems. But I see Felix at plus 140 in straight sets, which I think is pretty appealing. If you want to play it safer, you can go for Felix to win the first set and the match at around minus 120. I don't mind that. I think Felix, though, is the better player on these courts. We saw him win the title last year. Fees is playing his first back-to-back days of matches in a long time. I actually haven't checked when the last time that was, but it was a long time ago. Yeah, it was. I actually have to look this up. When was the last time he played back-to-back days? I think it was the French Open. No, that was 3 days. That was 3 days. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since Fees actually played in 2 straight days, so I question if fatigue will play a factor. But either way, I think Felix wins. I'll go for the value. I'll go for Felix in straight sets at plus 140 as my thoughts for this one. Could an upset happen? Sure. But I think Felix is playing, in my opinion, better. I thought he looked better than Fees did on Thursday. So I'll go for Felix in this one. Moving on to the last match, you have Griekspoor taking on Droget. Now, Droget has a home crowd advantage in France, but Griekspoor's favored minus 175. Droget is around plus 138. For the spread, minus 1.5 for Griekspoor, plus 1.5 for Droget, and the over-under is at 23.5 games. Now, both guys did serve very well in the last round. Droget, through qualifying, looked sharp. Did go to 3 sets against Blanchet, which actually aged pretty well. But either way, beat Choinski and ended up beating Kovacevic, defending runner-up in 3 sets. I will point out, in that match, Droget had 25 aces and only faced 2 break points in the entire match. So Kovacevic had no responses to his serve, and we'll see if Griekspoor can return well in this one. Griekspoor, though, played 1 match, did not get broken, did not face a break point against Busta. Simply put, I see a serving clinic from both guys. Griekspoor had 2 good return games in the entire match. That was it. Besides that, it was a bunch of holds, and I think Griekspoor in general is a pretty underwhelming returner. So I can see a bunch of long sets. I think that a breaker is pretty, I'd say, realistic in this one, maybe 2. I like the over in this one. I think you're going to see a pretty competitive match from start to finish. It's at 23.5 for a reason. You can get 22.5 at like minus 150 in some spots. I'm not going to take that, but I do think you'll end up seeing a very close match. I do not mind maybe the first set over 10.5, which you can find available at plus 150. I love the price. Both guys. Griekspoor in general is really not a great returner. So competitive matchup full of holds. Give me the over in the first set at 10.5 at plus 150. Don't mind the over in the full match. Or if you want to go for the same approach, the team total parlay over, that is an option as well. Anyway, let's go wrap it up for the quarterfinals. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks. Before we get into the lock and dog, a reminder that brought to you by our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. If you covered for the big game, choose a player, reveal whether you've unlocked a gimme pick, followed by a boost builder tied to the big game. Underdog's also celebrating by hooking players up with bigger boosts. Just submit a boosted entry to unlock an even bigger boost on the next one, all the way up to 60%. And also, if you're new to the platform, great sign-up deal for you. Play just $5, $75 bonus fund. You sign up with the promo code SGPN at Underdog Fantasy. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. They've been great since the season, especially on props. Check them out for the Super Bowl. You can check them out for sides, totals, props. Check them out for golf. Check them out for college basketball. A lot of options there. And a reminder, if you want to go premium with your Rhythm membership, go to the Rhythm app. Use the code SGPN25 and you'll get a quarter off first month. That's Rhythm, RATHMM. Code SGPN25 for a quarter off first month at Rhythm. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finished going through the preview of the quarterfinals in Montpellier. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks. For the lock, going to a niche play that we have taken before, and we're going to run it back here. We are going to go with the Droget and Griekspoor match. First 6 games, 3-3 scoreline at minus 115. Simply put, both guys have been serving very well in the event so far. Droget has faced less than 4 combined break points in his 4 tournament matches. So Droget has been really good at not facing break points, and I do think that Droget should look sharp once again, serving against Griekspoor, who's objectively not a good returner. Now, Griekspoor, on the other hand, did not face a break point against Busta. We know that in general, he's a good indoor hardcourt player. I think that he'll look sharp on the serve once again, so I don't see any real danger early in this match. Griekspoor has also not recorded a single break in 5 of his last 7 matches. So I know that he had a couple breaks against Busta, but before that, he had barely been even getting involved in the other players' return games. He's not a good returner. Droget, I don't think is that great of a returner either. I think both guys will serve well early. We need about 15 minutes of good serving which I think is pretty realistic here. Give me the first 6 games 3-3 at -115 as my lock for the show. For the dogs, similar angle but slightly different. I am going to go with the Dam and Nardi first set over 10.5 games at +143. Dam has not been broken in the entire event. He serves bombs. Nobody can break him. And I think that he will look sharp early in this match as well. 4 of 5. I'll just rephrase it. 4 of Dam's last 5 matches have had a first set tie break. And you're looking at 6 of Nardi's last 10 matches having a 7-5 or a 7-6 first set. So both guys tend to get pretty deep into their first sets. And with Dam not really being able to generate many break point chances, and with him just serving very well, I think there's a couple ways to get there. I think that Dam, once again, has just been a serving machine so far in the event. But I think this price is pretty generous when you're looking at the form both guys are in, and the fact that both guys have been involved in a bunch of marathon first sets recently. I like the price. I'll go for it as my dog for the show. So once again, the lock and dog picks. The lock's going to be on the Drogot and Griekspoor match. First 6 games of the match, 3-3 scoreline at -115. That's on DraftKings. For the dog, give me Dam and Nardi first set over 10.5 games at +143. That is on Bet Rivers. Anyways, going to wrap it up for the show. Back once again tomorrow to get into the semifinal matches in Montpellier. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye.